So I am voting with you that we get a turkey.
Well, we can overrule Anne.
Oh, that's right. We can't get another board member though.
Yeah, true. Unless they love turkey.
Unless they love turkey. So yeah. Hey, empowered vegan lifers, Ella here with myself. At the moment, we've got somebody else coming on, but I have to tell you, number one, I miss my better half when she's not on here. And I know that you guys miss Stephanie too when she's not on the show. I have to give it to all the people that do podcasts solo, because it's an interesting experience, kind of sitting here talking to yourself, knowing that we're talking to you, but when it's pre-recorded, I'm talking to myself. So anyway, shout out to everybody who does solo podcasts. Not an easy thing. I do have, however, to comfort me, my Hogs and Kisses mug that I got sent from Anne, the founder of Hogs and Kisses Farm Sanctuary. She's been on the show multiple times. She sent me a mug, Hogs and Kisses mug for Christmas. And I have to tell you that I don't feel like I need caffeine in the morning anymore. Ever since I started taking the Live Ultimate, the Ultimate Elixir and mushroom and pteromin clay, kind of my morning cocktail. So I started taking that. I really don't need the extra energy from caffeine. However, I do enjoy green tea, and because I have this mug, I am sitting here drinking green tea. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's an influence, good or bad, not good or bad, but it's influencing me. I probably would not be drinking green tea right now if it weren't for my beautiful Hogs and Kisses mug, which people on YouTube, if you look at the video on YouTube, you can see it. And we're going to be having these available on the website, Hogs and Kisses website. So I'm psyched for that too. But we've got a lot to cover today because we had an amazing guest on yesterday. I interviewed James Aubry. He is AKA Vegan Try Guys on Instagram. And we had a really interesting conversation. And I'm really excited for you to hear it because he has so much in common with me and with so many of you guys. So he reached out actually on Instagram not too long ago, and I took a look at his Instagram account and saw one thing that really struck me was that he had turned a van into a home. He had a van home. And when I asked him about it, he said, "Oh, you're talking about Lola." And that just was so fun for me because, as you may or may not know, I am working on building my tiny home on the land of Hogs and Kisses up in Virginia, so that I have a place to go up to, and eventually we are going to be turning it into a B&B. So it might be something that you could visit too and come and visit the animals on the sanctuary. So all of that is in the works, but because I am so actively working on this this tiny home project, that really caught my eye, and we started chatting, and it's just a great guy. Number one, I love the UK accent, the British accent. It gets me, I have to say. And number two, I've been to London, many times now, and really love this city of London. Had such good experiences there, from fitness experiences. There was a great gym I went to with calisthenics and hip hop classes and kind of a huge variety that I just loved. And then there was a drag show that I went to at this gay bar that was phenomenal. I have worked with a lot of people from the UK, so I've gotten to meet some clients out there as well, which is always super fun. And so yeah, so I am celebrating that we got to sit down with James Aubry of Vegan Try Guys, who is a plant-powered cyclist and triathlete with an inspirational story of resilience. We talk about his battle with chronic fatigue, his journey into veganism, and the courageous step he took away from the corporate world to follow his passion. So, without further ado, Let's have a conversation with James. Hey, James. I'm so glad
Hey.
you could join me.
Oh, it's very kind of you to invite me on. Very kind.
Well, we've been, I feel like we've been seeing a lot of each other lately.
Yeah, it's been a really amazing start to 2021 and the end of 2020, which was obviously a difficult year for a lot of people. But it's amazing what happens when you least expect it. So
That's for sure. Yes, for those of you who don't know, James joined us on the board of Hogs and Kisses. So we've had a couple meetings here in just the last couple of days. So we spent quite a bit of time together.
yeah,
And I thought, why wouldn't I have you on the show? And here we are.
well, it's a pleasure to be here. So
Yes.
thank you.
Well, I really like to start with the going vegan story with my guests. Would you share with us your going vegan story?
Yeah, sure. I was just over 5 years ago now. I went down the sort of rabbit hole of TED Talks just randomly, not looking for any topic in particular, and I stumbled across John McDougall's one first, and the next one was Neil Bernard's. So for those who don't know, they're quite sort of pioneers in plant-based health or nutrition movement, and yeah, they got me thinking about. I couldn't believe I never even considered vegetarianism, let alone veganism. And then once they said a few things that the light bulb went off, and then I thought, wow, hang on a minute, I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit more. And then I went down, yeah, just I think a week later I decided. I think the only thing really was stopping me was what would everybody I know say and think. And for a week, that sort of bugged me, and I just thought, I think the thing that really pushed me to go 100%, because I think from a health point of view and an environmental point of view, you could be sort of 95% and make a really big difference to both. But if you take the ethical approach, and when you realize what really happens to animals and you don't want to cause any harm with your lifestyle, then the only solution really is to be 100% vegan, which we can't always be 100%. We might drive, in terms of causing no harm, we might step on an ant when we don't realize it, but in terms of I mean, that's the definition of veganism, to do what is practically possible to reduce all the suffering you can. But in terms of paying someone to slaughter an animal that I couldn't slaughter myself, and probably wouldn't even want to watch, well, I definitely wouldn't want to watch it be slaughtered, I know that for sure, it seemed like the only logical choice. So yeah,
That's amazing. Now, the light bulb that went off at first, was that the health light bulb that went off first? Or was it all together?
well, maybe it was multiple light bulbs, but yeah, it was initially I just didn't even think it was possible to not eat any animal products at all. So to hear these doctors talking about it, and obviously there are doctors who are saying, especially not back then 5 years ago, but now doctors who are saying eat meat only. I mean, you've got to take even what a doctor says with a pinch of salt. But I thought, the things they were saying, like, diseases of the West or the affluent, people who live in, in rural parts of China who work in rice fields have zero rates pretty much of, these diseases that we see are the number one cause of death in Western world. And, processed food, even if it's vegan, might, isn't great for you. So obviously we eat a lot more processed food in the West, but I just thought there must be something to this. And yeah, so initially I thought, well, I'll give it. I'll have a little bit of a like gander on the internet, see what I can find. But just the more I watched, a talk by Gary Yourofsky, who's pretty famous for his stance on the ethical side of veganism. And his talk was the one that really just I thought, well, I can't refute anything you've said at all. So yeah, I just had to. It just seemed so obvious a decision or a choice. So I couldn't go back really after that. Once he'd said everything and I saw some footage, I mean, that was the real killer for me. I mean, excuse the pun, but I mean, that was the real like motivator, seeing what goes on in those slaughterhouses, which I think if it weren't for social media and YouTube and things like that, they would be those industries would keep that sort of thing well hidden. And there's a reason why they do, because nobody feels hungry when they see an animal get slaughtered, which is an important thing to realize, because that's our natural instinct. And if we were meant to eat animals, we'd have a natural instinct to want to eat them and kill them. See blood. So I don't know. There's just too many things.
Absolutely. And for anyone who hasn't seen Gary's talk that James is talking about, I will put the link in the show notes, because that is something everybody should see.
I completely agree.
Incredible. And now add to the mix that you're also an endurance athlete. Tell us about your athletic endeavors and how that, what you thought about how that might change it.
Yeah, I'm sort of primarily a cyclist and triathlete, and I didn't think it was possible to. In fact, I used to say that a lot when I was younger. Being around vegetarians at university or whatever, and just saying, "Oh well, I couldn't do that. I need to eat. I need to get my protein in," which sounds ridiculous now, but yeah. So I know I've been there and I've said all those silly things, but I didn't think it was possible. But I think once I started looking into all of this, I started to find athletes who are at the top of their game who were doing it. And I thought, why hadn't I even heard about that? And so the thing is, there were not many cyclists or triathletes that I was aware of that were vegan, which was my thing, obviously. But I could see that there was the odd strongman. There was Serena, Venus Williams, Novak Djokovic. I mean, tennis I don't regard as the most physically strenuous sport out there, but even still, to be at the top of your game, when there's a lot of people who want to be at the top, there's a lot of money involved in tennis, and you get a lot of people, a lot of athletes going for it, and you can't be at the top of something like that without your body being in top shape. So there were signs. I mean, there are pro cyclists now who ride the Tour de France, which is probably the most grueling sporting event on the calendar. Well, annual one anyway, and one of for sure. And it's to see vegan athletes doing that is great, is fantastic. But at the time, I didn't have that, so it was a little bit more of a leap of faith, maybe, than just an average person who doesn't worry about that kind of thing, as in sporting performance and stuff. But yeah, the ethical side was just too strong, so I had to give it a go.
Understood. Now, to people like me, you're very nonchalant about your athletic abilities. Okay, I've noticed that about you. You're very humble about it, because when I look at what you do, for me, yes, I'm a fitness person. Yes, I can do, pull-ups and handstands and all that. But endurance sports, to me, it blows my mind. So I want to know, what kind of, just a little side note, what kind of rides you do, how long, what your training is like. Can you give us an idea of what that looks like?
Yeah, I used when I was competing in triathlon, which is up until a couple of years ago, I was doing half Ironman distance as my anything between sprint and half Ironman. So sprint, to put into context, is like the run part is 5K, and for half Ironman the run is a half marathon. So races from an hour to 4 and a bit hours or something like that. I mean, I find what you do probably more, this the same. It's just the opposite.
Yes.
I mean, I love riding a bike for 6 hours at a time, and going up mountains and things like that. I just love it. I love a Sunday long bike ride with friends or a group, and you get back and that feeling afterwards is just fantastic, and during as well, getting out in the fresh air and all that kind of stuff. And
does it count now when it's freezing and
yeah. Well, right now is the depths of winter for the UK, and it's I think with the next few nights, overnight is less than 0 centigrade. So training in the morning is going to be fun. It's going to be less, below 0, below freezing. But yeah, I'll probably, well, it's okay running. I don't mind. It's not as bad running, but riding on the road, yeah, it's pretty cold. But no, I've been an endurance athlete for, since I was really young. I was, my dream was to be a professional cyclist. So when I was 16, for 2 years I was on, so British Cycling have like a youth development program, which then feeds into like basically the national team and things like that. So they sort of talent spot around the country through schools and cycling clubs and stuff. And yeah, so I was on that for the junior years, they call them, 16 to 18. And so I was sort of on the trajectory of going towards being a pro cyclist, which is what I wanted. So yeah, that's how seriously I used to take sport. But then for the next sort of 12 years, I had sort of on and off chronic fatigue, and that really that put paid to being a pro athlete. But yeah, so.
Can you talk about the chronic fatigue?
Certainly can. I mean, it's something that obviously, as I said, for 12 years on and off is a long time, not really understanding it. Nobody else really understanding it, doctors and that. So it's very difficult to stay positive when there's something wrong with your body. You can't do what you love, and you don't feel great most of the time, and no one can help you get over it. But it basically started from being on this British Cycling youth development program, because the way they measured our performance was our power output and then divided by our weight. And then all of a sudden you become obsessed with your weight. And if you can generate the same amount of power and weigh less, then your numbers are better, and you also climb up hills faster. But so I suppose I developed a bit of an eating disorder quite young, because of this, just wanting to be, on the program and go on to the national team and all that kind of thing. So the chronic fatigue for me, which never really was diagnosed by any medical professional, but some suggested it may have been adrenal fatigue, which I also hear from health professionals that that's not even a thing. So I don't know really what it was, but sort of trying to train hard and under fueling was essentially leading me to these sort of episodes of burning out, which would then mean it would take me a long time to recover from. I'd have to stop sport entirely. Or at least I found later on that actually I got over it a lot better if I just dropped down to something really, which I wouldn't even consider exercise normally, but then build it up very slowly, even if you don't feel great to start with. And that actually really helps get over it. But the main thing was under fueling the body. So I look at, I used to have an approach as well, even when I wasn't trying to be or train for, to be a professional athlete, was to, you do more to be able to eat more. So it's like, you reward yourself with exercise, or by doing exercise with more food. But I realized that that is an approach that a lot of people take and is all over, like health magazines and stuff like that. But that mentality just means people restrict, people are unhappy because they're not getting enough energy. It's a really bad cycle to get into. And I've found that, so since I went plant-based, I just eat as much whole plant food as I want, which is mainly carbohydrate based, because that's just the way plants are. And I think actually part of the reason wasn't just under eating, but a lack of carbohydrate. I think the body, or at least my body for sure, works a lot better in general, just general daily functioning with a lot of carbohydrate than fat. So I think people need, and I definitely found this, and I think it can benefit people a lot to change their mentality to think, I need to eat more to do more, rather than do more to eat more. So it's like, I need to, you think about how much energy your body would need in a day. Even if you just sat on the sofa and did nothing all day, it still actually burns a lot of energy. Keeping that body temperature, the brain and organs functioning, all that kind of stuff, hormone production, everything requires a certain amount of energy, your basal metabolic rate. And if you want that to be at a healthy level, you need to give the body plenty of energy. And that's before you do any exercise. And actually, exercise doesn't necessarily burn as much energy as you think. So what you really want to be doing is giving your body enough energy just to function, get your hormones right, all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to exercise, eat more than that to be able to do that exercise. So your body, if you're constantly in a calorie deficit, you can't fool your body, right? Your body knows exactly how much energy has come in. I've seen sites where they say diets don't work, and then they give all these little tips on how to trick your body into eating less, and it doesn't work, because the body cannot be fooled into how much energy it needs versus how much energy is coming in. So eat as much as the body needs, and eat more if you want to do more. And that is sort of a mentality change that really just is liberating, like you won't believe.
Yes, that freedom word, right? Feeling free from that, constant battle in your brain about what you're going to eat, how much, how am I going to burn that off? Is that going to equal out?
Exactly.
Calories in, calories out. Is that how it's supposed to be?
That's a
Oh,
terrible
no carbs.
lifestyle.
Like, wow, it's exhausting. That in and of
Absolutely.
itself is exhausting.
Absolutely.
And our listeners know exactly what you're talking about. Most of our listeners have engaged in that self-sabotaging, ultimately, cycle. And I love how you just explained how you basically learn to eat intuitively and fuel your body with clean, good nutrition, and to be able to perform based on that, which is just phenomenal. Like, I love how you explain that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I've had a lot of experience of it. So yeah, I've had time to formulate a sort of a good understanding of what was wrong, and what I was doing wrong. And
So what happened next? You got the chronic fatigue. Timeline wise, where were you when that 5 years ago? Where were you in your health journey at that point when you went vegan?
Okay, so I had just done sort of got back into competitive sport again. So I'd done a season of triathlon. I'd moved to Italy by this point, so I was living the dream. I'd wanted to live in outside of the UK, a country with a better climate, and one of the homes of cycling, Italy, France, or Spain. Italy was where my aunt got married, and Chianti, one of the most beautiful places on the planet, Tuscany. So I moved there, and I'd done a season of triathlon by that point, and then what I said earlier about eating as clean and really healthy whole foods and stuff, I wasn't doing that at the beginning of being plant-based. So I had there's a certain person who's a vegan cyclist who's gives out a lot of information, and I suppose I took a lot of his advice because there were no other vegan cyclists out there that I was aware of who were, he was, I don't know if you're aware of Strava, the app. Strava is sort of where people record their runs and bike rides and stuff, and it's plots it on the map, and
Right.
There's lots of challenges and stuff, and people can create a segment, and then you can compare yourself to everyone else in the world who's ever done that segment and stuff. So it's really cool interacting with other athletes, amateur athletes and pros as well who are on there. But so this guy was like, of the Strava most kilometers in January had like beaten the entire community of Strava on it. And he was seriously fit cyclist, but his advice really wasn't that great, because it was a lot of as well as being vegan, which is good, he was suggesting a lot of refined food on top of some whole food, so a lot of sugar and stuff added to your smoothies, a lot of just a lot of refined food. And actually I found that after 2 years of that, I really wasn't feeling that good at all. And it just showed me that first of all, the word vegan doesn't mean it's going to be healthy for a start. And it also showed me that even though fruit and rice and potatoes have carbohydrate in them, and or glucose or whatever, and glucose in the form of refined sugar is even though it's the same molecule, it just doesn't behave in the same way when it's ingested into the body. So then I sorted my diet out after that, and it made a big difference. Basically almost entirely whole food, and I think one important thing was getting a vitamin D supplement, because although I already took B12, which is essential for us veggie folk, but even for some meat eater omnivores, so vitamin D is another one that's worth taking. So that as well, and an omega-3 supplement is. Once I added those and just ate whole food, it was I got myself back to normal. But it just shows you can't out exercise a bad diet, even if it's vegan. So all these there's a lot of vegans who, the ones that tend to be quite aggressive, and I know a lot of people have experienced those sorts of folk, but they tend to say that they're in it entirely for the animals, not for their health, and veganism isn't about health. But how many people's morals are gonna go out the window when their health falls apart because they're eating such a bad diet? It's veganism is technically about the animals, but why not look after your body at the same time?
So true. One thing I think about, James, is how it's all about not exploiting animals, right? All living beings, of being kind and compassionate. Yep. Well, we're animals too. We're human beings, and when we're fueling our body or not fueling our body, putting junk in our bodies, even if it's vegan junk, we're not being kind and compassionate to ourselves. That's kind of how I look at it, because yes, I hear what you're saying, and it's just bigger. It's bigger. It's such a big picture lifestyle to lead. And
you've only got one place to live. That's your body. Don't ruin it. I mean, people say they don't care about their health, but as soon as they've got a problem, they're going down to the doctor.
Okay, so one of the things, James, that I noticed right away, when I looked at your Instagram, which is Vegan Try Guys, I looked at your Instagram and I saw this video of you creating a home out of a van. And when I asked you about it, you said, "Oh, you're talking about Lola."
That's Lola, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just love that. And we've got to share this Lola story. Can you tell us all about it?
Oh, yeah. So a little bit of context. It's actually Lola was was born out of a project that I wanted to do for 2020, which didn't go ahead because of COVID, obviously. But I had planned to. So we mentioned the Tour de France before. I wanted to ride that since I was a kid, and I watching, even Lance Armstrong back in the day. But yeah, so I wanted to ride the Tour de France route a day ahead of the professionals to promote, living a healthier lifestyle, eating more plants, and also a more sustainable lifestyle, which is obviously partly through eating plants, but also through riding bikes for transport, which might be a little bit less easy in the States with everything so spread out, but at least in the UK and other countries in Europe, it's a bit more feasible. But so the idea was that I was going to ride all the stages of the Tour de France, same route as the pros, but the day before the professionals. And my dad was going to drive a vehicle behind me with, like spare bike and parts and food and all that kind of stuff. And then we thought, well, wait, maybe we could put a bed in the back so you can sleep in that, and then we'll get another vehicle which has the cook and the chef and stuff. But anyway, so eventually I started looking into vans and conversions and stuff. And then that's a whole nother rabbit hole I went down. And just like the amount of like people on there have converted their vans into these beautiful little homes. I just thought, wow, why don't we just do that? So I'd left, I planned to leave my job to do this project, but obviously as the project didn't go ahead, I essentially, decided to convert. I bought a medium wheelbase Sprinter van, and not in white because I didn't want to look like a tradesman. But I bought a silver Sprinter van, and she's beautiful, and she's 10 years old, and converted into this lovely little home on wheels. And so obviously COVID didn't really kick in, or lockdowns and that, until about end of February, March time last year. And I quit my job in September the year before, 2019.
What kind of job was it?
Okay, so I was, so although I was living in a beautiful part of the world in Florence, Italy, and I had the weather and the food and everything, cycling was beautiful. Yeah, I was working for an oil and gas company. So I qualified as an engineer, and I was working for an American company, actually, General Electric, in the oil and gas sector, designing gas turbines. And I just knew it wasn't for me. One, engineering, really, but two, also, I wasn't really passionate about it. I wanted to be a pro cyclist, obviously, so it was a fallback option. And I also knew that I didn't want to be involved in an industry that was really not aligned with, the more sustainable lifestyle that I was trying to encourage people to go for. So I eventually, I left. The project was, when I came up with the project, it was perfect for me to leave a job like that to go and do. And even though it would mean taking a year out of work at least, and having to find sponsors and stuff like that, it was something that really ignited. Like, I could feel whenever I thought about it or talked about it with anyone, I could just feel like so much energy and passion for it. And it may still go ahead later, and some other time, which is fine. There's no time limit on it. But so I've quit engineering, and I'm hoping that I don't have to ever go back to it, if I don't have to. Crazy times.
That's a big decision, leaving corporate America. And I know there's a lot of people listening that are, feel stuck in a job that they don't like, that they're not passionate about, that may even conflict with their values.
That's the big thing,
yet the fear of leaving that and not having that stability and maybe starting your own thing, that's a scary thing to do, and it is a leap, but you did it. How did you overcome that fear?
I think that for me, I just saw, I knew that so I was in that job for 6 years, and I knew from about 2 years in that I didn't want to do it anymore. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do instead. And this project of mine that came up, about a year or two before I actually left that job, I just knew that was what I wanted. So yeah, it was a concern. Like it's a leap of faith, because even if COVID hadn't turned up, something might have happened, it might not have worked out or whatever. It was a risk in some ways, but I just thought, what am I really risking? Because obviously some people can't just move back in with their parents if they had to, or have that safety net. And so yeah, very lucky to be able to have that. But I just thought, do I want to look back in 20, 30 years or whatever and just think, why did I not do that? And that's what I really wanted. They say you only live once, but why? It's such a cliche, obviously, but why not pursue what you really want? And it's not always easy. And if I were to go but try and make this project happen in the future, riding the Tour de France and the other two grand tours of cycling, the Italian one and Spanish one, it might be, it's not, it's going to be really hard to get, to organize, to get all the people involved, to raise the money for it, all that kind of stuff. But, all the best things are, that they're not going to be easy, but the satisfaction, and, you don't want to feel empty and just wondering why you're sort of, if you feel like you're bumbling through life, just, not, working for working for a massive company that doesn't really care about you. And some people want to work hard. I'm happy to work hard, but for something that I actually care about. I'm not happy to work hard for something I really don't care about. And that's what I was finding. I wasn't willing to put in the extra hours, maybe even after about 3 years, and that was definitely a sign to leave. But I just didn't know what to. It was just living in such a wonderful place. I just thought, oh, I can't give up this lifestyle. But there's usually, I've found when I've talked to people who have, they saw what I was planning to do, and they say, oh, I wish I could do that. And I would ask them why they can't. And a lot of people, maybe they're a bit scared of the change, or that it won't come easy. But it's so worth going for it if you can. And it might be difficult. You might not be earning much money to begin with, but it depends whether you get more satisfaction from doing something that really feeds your soul, rather is that worth more than having a lot of money. Obviously you want to be able to live. I'm not saying you should be out on the street or anything, but sure. There's just so much to like being satisfied with the life you've lived when you get older. That
I take it a step further, James. I talk about getting to your deathbed and like really putting yourself in those shoes of knowing that you're about to die, as morbid as that is. But then looking back, and I don't want to get there and have regrets.
That's what most people say. Exactly. when they're on their deathbed. Like this, I've seen interviews, like people put together interviews with people on their deathbed, and they just say, I wish I had taken those, I'd gone for this or gone for that, instead of just finding reasons why I shouldn't.
Yes.
This, so to follow that theme, I'm actually trying to start a new business, which is obviously a terrible time to be starting a new business in COVID times, which I mean, you can easily, it's quite a good time if it's entirely internet based, for example, but if you can't see people, I mean, so I'm trying to start a videography business.
You
And
started a videography business,
I
and I
have, to be
love the
fair,
name of it.
yeah, it's called Humble Hedgehog Productions.
How great is that?
So
I love
I
that.
love hedgehogs. They're the best. If you haven't seen Rick the Hedgehog on Instagram, I thoroughly recommend his profile. But um, yeah, I have started it. I have had a couple of paid jobs already. I'm yeah, had to take a slice of humble pie to move back home with my folks whilst this COVID thing blows over and I can get myself up and running. But I've invested in. So I actually bought some entry level camera gear to do this or vlog this and document this project that I've already mentioned. But now I've invested in some decent gear, and it's that's again another sort of leap of faith. There's no guarantees that I'm going to be earning a lot of money and from it, but I'm willing to work hard at it. As you know, I've been learning how to make a website, which has been one of the most frustrating things I've ever done. I think I don't know why they make it so difficult, but you
It's
know all
never
about this.
easy, but
You
yes.
know all about this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Doing it all yourself at first, and at least, you make do. You make do. You make it happen is the thing, is you do what you got to do when you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. And the frustration, all of that is worth it. And I've certainly been through the ups and downs, spent many years broke, on my ass until ultimately I got the coaching and the support I needed to be able to take things to the next level. But you start where you start, and it's not
Yep.
easy. And then if anybody says, it's easy and all these what seem to be overnight successes, there is no
They
overnight
never
success.
are.
No.
But the ones that are overnight often don't last, and they're also, if they do, they're absolute rarities. The people who have are real successes have taken a long time to get there.
Exactly. And they may become famous kind of overnight, but what they had to go through to get to that place is not easy. It's not an easy road to take, but so
all the most interesting stories you'll ever hear about people, they're never just I had it easy. It's always the most interesting people of, like, I don't know if you've heard of David Goggins.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just one great example. I mean, I'd recommend his appearance on either Joe Rogan or Rich Roll podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all the most inspiring, interesting people have been through really tough times, overcome them, taken the road that's least traveled, and yeah, I mean,
So what's your mission?
What's my mission
with Humble Hedgehog?
Oh, with Humble Hedgehog Productions, I know that I just really, for a start, really enjoy the whole process in videography. So, creating beautiful images, telling a story. I'd love to make documentaries about really important things as well at some point if I could. There's a great one I watched recently called Kiss the Ground on Netflix, which is all about how the way we farm can have a massive impact on climate change and the food we produce and stuff. So Kiss the Ground, I really recommend. But yeah, with it, I would just like to, I mean, the real basic one, just enjoy what I do for a living. I mean, if I've only done a couple of paid jobs, but I was still just sort of couldn't believe that I was getting paid to do it. It's just so much fun, and the editing side is great too. But yeah, if I could make documentaries about individuals who have amazing stories, maybe even yourself, that would be cool. But yeah, I would love to put it to, yeah, I mean, to good use. In there may be jobs I have to take, obviously, or will be, that aren't going to fulfill that criteria, but in the long run, yeah, mission, just do good, promote, things that help people and help the planet. I think it's got to be the way. Yes. I'm going to go with it. So
love it. And then you came on board Hogs and Kisses, and we have something in common. I mean, we have a lot of things in common, but we both have a love for turkeys.
We do, yeah. There's not many people who can say that.
No. So why do you love turkeys so much?
Well, turkeys, I mean, they are very strange looking animals.
Yeah.
I mean, like their heads are just, they look like something out of they come from another planet or something. I mean, but I never really, even when I went vegan at first, I didn't really think much about turkeys specifically. But once I started to see so many videos where they just love to like hug people or be hugged by people, I couldn't believe it. I'd never ever seen any sort of personality from a turkey. Not that obviously I hadn't really experienced much in the way of turkeys at all, apart from Christmas lunch. So to see them so like affectionate and with humans, and it was amazing. So I went to a sanctuary. There's one there's one near London that I've been to a couple of times, and so I'd seen the one that lives with Esther the Wonder Pig. I don't know if any of you are aware of Esther the Wonder Pig.
I don't know about Esther the
Oh,
Wonder.
really?
How do I not know? Yes.
Oh, she's an internet sensation of a pig who was bought by this couple, and they thought it was like a mini pig, and it turned out to be they lived in a tiny flat somewhere, and then they realized this pig is going to become, just like all pigs do, they all get quite big. So I think it was actually one that was going to be as in pork industry, like the huge pigs. So
farm
they realized
pig,
farm pigs. So they had to the choice was sell her or give her away, or move to the countryside, and they chose the latter. And now they've got other animals on their property as well, but one of them is this turkey. I can't remember what his name is, but so when one of the guys is sort of like giving Esther a belly rub, like the turkey comes along and starts bumping into him, and then he wants a hug and stuff. And so I thought I really wanted to go to a sanctuary to meet one. I met one in England. He's called Bramble Bill. He's at the retreat animal sanctuary, which is a wonderful place. I didn't get a picture of it, unfortunately, but he came up for a he didn't get he was a little bit, because they're so funny that they got no expression, and they sort of like walk around sort of like eyeing you up. You're not sure they're gonna like what they're thinking, but he was up for a little like belly scratch. So no, they're just amazing animals. I don't know why, I just love them. I mean, you tell me why you love turkeys. I mean,
oh yeah, well, mine started, like you said, they're a little intimidating looking.
They are a bit, yeah,
right,
exactly. This is true, yeah,
very different. And when I went to Friends Not Food Sanctuary up by near West Palm Beach in Florida, they have a turkey home there named Ragnar, and they said this is the most loving turkey. And I was a little trepidatious at first, but they said sit down, and Ragnar came over to me and climbed up on my lap with his big big feet on my lap, and literally wrapped his neck around my neck. He literally came and gave me a turkey hug.
That's amazing. Yeah,
and
so cute.
It was just this connection that was so powerful and so beautiful. And ever since there, I can't get it out of my head. So I am voting with you that we get a turkey.
Well, we can overrule Anne.
Oh, that's right. We can't get another board member though.
Yeah, true. Unless they love turkeys.
Unless they love turkeys. Yeah. So yes, we're gonna start with the pigs and the bunnies, but I'm all for the turkey.
At least one. There's a huge amount of space there. At least one lucky turkey gets to yeah, for sure.
I love it. Well, awesome. James, tell us where we can learn more about you and find you on social media, and we'll put it in the show notes, of course.
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, as Vegan Tri Guys. TRI is in triathlon, and Yeah, well, Humble Hedgehog is something non-vegan related, but yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Vegan Try Guys.
Amazing. James,
Yeah,
thanks for joining me today.
no problem. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on.